Once upon a time, there was a girl named Adaeze who believed she had finally found the kind of love people talk about all the time. Not the stressful kind, not the confusing kind, but the kind that feels calm, safe, and almost too perfect. That man was Collins. Collins was different from every other man she had met. He was calm when others were loud. He listened when others just talked. And the way he looked at her, it made her feel like she was the only person that mattered. That evening, Adaeze was sitting in his house, not just any house, the kind of place that made you pause when you entered. Everything looked expensive, neat and well arranged. From the chairs to the lights, everything had class. But strangely, that wasn't what caught her attention the most. It was him. Collins sat across from her, relaxed, like a man who had everything under control. He wasn't trying too hard. He didn't need to. Even the way he smiled looked natural, like he knew exactly what he was doing. "You are quiet," he said, looking at her. Adaeze smiled a little. "I am just thinking." "About what?" She hesitated for a second, then said, "About how everything feels so easy with you." Collins leaned back slightly, studying her face like he found her interesting. "That is how it should be," he said calmly. No pressure, no stress, just simple words, but they stayed in her head. There was something about the way he spoke. It made things feel settled, like there was nothing to worry about. For a moment, Adaeze forgot every bad experience she had ever had. All the times things didn't work out, all the times she had doubts. With Collins, it didn't feel like that. It felt right. He stood up slowly and walked towards her, not in a rush, not trying to impress, just calm confidence. Then he stopped in front of her and said, "You look really beautiful today." Adaeze laughed softly. "You always say that." "And I will keep saying it," he replied, without breaking eye contact. There was short silence after that, not an awkward one, the kind that feels comfortable. He reached for her hand and held it gently, and in that moment, everything felt perfect, too perfect. After a while, the laughter and warmth of the living room faded. Collins and Adaeze walked slowly down the hallway. They were holding hands, still smiling, but the air felt different, a little heavier. Collins' phone buzzed in his pocket. He felt it, glanced at it quickly, and put it back. He acted casual, but Adaeze noticed something, a small pause in his step, a tiny hesitation in his eyes. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly. Collins smiled. "Yes, just work stuff," he said, calm, smooth, confident. Adaeze nodded. She wanted to believe him. She wanted everything to feel perfect, but something small, something quiet started to worry her. As they walked, she noticed little things she hadn't before. How Collins' hand brushed hers a little too quickly. How his eyes flicked to the far corner of the hallway, almost like he was expecting something. And then she felt it, a presence, not clear, not visible, just a sense that they weren't completely alone. Something or someone was watching. She blinked, thinking she imagined it, but the feeling stayed. Her stomach tightened. She shifted her hand in his, but didn't say anything. Collins didn't seem to notice, or maybe he was pretending not to. Collins guided her to a quiet sitting area. He poured two glasses from a shiny crystal decanter. He gave one to her. The drink sparkled softly in the warm light. Collins leaned back comfortably, smiled. To anyone else, everything looked normal, perfect even. But Adaeze felt uneasy. Something was just out of reach, something hidden. She took a slow sip, pretending everything was fine, but her heart was racing. The warmth of the house, the golden light, the smell of polished wood, it all felt slightly off. The perfect evening had a crack, and she couldn't ignore it. Even as she laughed softly at something Collins said, that quiet feeling lingered. A small doubt had been planted. Why did he pause like that? What is he hiding? And in that moment, Adaeze knew that love, even the perfect kind, could hide secrets quietly, waiting for the right moment to show themselves. Outside the garden gate, the night was quiet. The soft glow from the house spread across the lawn, lightening the path in a warm gold. The air was calm, carrying the faint smell of flowers and fresh grass. Everything looked peaceful. Through the gate, Collins and Adaeze walked slowly. Their hands were locked together, fingers fitting perfectly. They moved without rushing, enjoying the silence around them. Adaeze let out a soft laugh as Collins said something under his breath. She shook her head lightly, smiling. "You are not serious," she said. "I am," Collins replied calmly. She laughed again, leaning slightly towards him. In that moment, she felt safe, like nothing could go wrong. They kept walking along the path, their footsteps slow and steady. The sound blended gently with the quiet of the night. But something about the silence felt longer than it should be. Not enough to stop them, not enough to question, just there, Collins paused for a second, like he wanted to say something, but then he didn't. Instead, he just smiled at her again. Adaeze noticed, but she pushed it aside. She didn't want to ruin the moment. They stopped walking and faced each other. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Adaeze looked up at him, studying his face like she was trying to understand something deeper. "You have been acting a little different," she said quietly. Collins didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her, calm, controlled. Then he smiled. "Different, how?" Adaeze hesitated. She didn't even know how to explain it. "I don't know, just different," she said, brushing it off with a small smile. Connie stepped closer. "You think too much," he said softly. Maybe he was right. Adaeze nodded slowly, trying to believe that. They stood there again, quiet. The night wrapped around them. Every word they spoke seemed to settle into the air. Every small moment stayed, like it mattered more than they knew. Adaeze let out a soft breath and smiled again. "Come on," she said, pulling his hand gently. They started walking again, moving deeper into the garden. The light from the house grew softer behind them. The night became quieter. Adaeze felt it again, that small unease, like something wasn't fully right. She turned her head slightly, glancing back towards the gate, but she didn't see anything. So she faced forward again and kept walking. Beside her, Collins spoke again, pulling her attention back. She smiled and responded, trying to relax. But deep down, that small question stayed. As they walked further into the garden, their voices grew softer, fading into the night, and behind them, the gate remained slightly open. They had moved further into the garden now, away from the gate. The light from the house grew faint, soft golden glows barely reaching the path where they walked. The night felt deeper here, quieter, almost private. Adaeze squeezed Collins' hand slightly. "Let's sit for a while," she said softly. Collins nodded and led her to a small bench, tucked between the garden paths. It faced a small pond, the water reflecting the dim light. They sat close, not too close, but close enough to feel each other's warmth. The silence was not empty, it was heavy, with all the little things left unsaid. Adaeze turned her head, looking at Collins. His face was calm, controlled, like always. She studied him quietly. "You know," she said, started, then paused. Collins tilted his head, slightly waiting. "I don't think I've ever felt this calm with anyone," she said, her voice soft. Collins didn't answer immediately. He just looked at her, letting the words settle between them. "With someone like you," she added, smiling faintly. I just don't want anything to mess this up," she said, her voice dropping a little, as if the night was listening. Collins stayed silent for a moment, then spoke in a low, steady voice. "Nothing will." She studied his face, searching for more, wanting to trust him completely. "Promise?" she asked quietly. He gave her a soft look. Adaeze leaned her head gently against his shoulder. He didn't move. He stayed still, letting her rest. His hand found hers, resting lightly over it. For a moment, everything felt perfect, but the quiet of the garden was too heavy to ignore entirely. A tiny shift, a pause in Collins' hand, something so small Adaeze almost didn't notice. She ignored it. The night wrapped around them again, soft and calm, but the open gate behind them remained, a quiet reminder that nothing in this world is ever completely safe. Adaeze let out a soft breath and smiled faintly, trying to let go of the small unease in her chest. Collins whispered something funny under his breath, and she laughed, the sound echoing softly in the garden. For a few moments, they simply existed in each other's presence, lost in the calm of the night, unaware of the eyes or the weight watching from somewhere just out of reach. The night air felt heavier now, deeper inside the garden. The bench by the pond where they had been sitting was quiet, but the soft rustle of leaves whispered around them. Adaeze still leaned lightly on Colin's shoulder, trying to keep the calm from the last moment. Suddenly, a faint buzz cut through the silence. Colin stiffened slightly, his hand tightening around hers. He hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. Slowly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. The screen glowed faintly, illuminating part of his face. The name flashing on the screen was unfamiliar. No contact, just a number. "Who is it?" Colin's lip curved into a soft smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "No one important," he said, slipping his phone back into his pocket. The phone buzzed again. Collins paused mid-step, then pulled it out once more. His fingers hovered over the screen. Adeze's eyes followed every move, curiosity prickling in her chest. He glanced around quickly, as if checking the garden. Then, still with a careful calm, he walked a few steps away from the bench, keeping his back to her. "I'll be right back," he said, voice low, almost swallowed by the night. The faint glow of the house behind them no longer offered comfort. The shadows among the trees seemed to stretch longer. Collins stopped a little distance away, crouched slightly, and answered the call. His voice was quiet, tense, careful. Adaeze could not hear the words, only the way his shoulders stiffened, the way his fingers tapped the phone. Small tells that something wasn't right. She shifted on the bench, hugging herself slightly. Her mind started spinning. Who is calling him at this hour? Why did he move away? The question refused to leave her. From the bench, she could see the way his body tensed every few seconds, like he was listening for something or someone. The garden that had felt safe before now felt strange. Even the open gate behind them seemed to watch. Adaeze swallowed slowly, trying to calm herself. She wanted to believe it was nothing, but something in the night told her it was more. Collins ended the call quickly. He slipped the phone back into his pocket and returned to her side. His expression was steady, as if nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" she asked softly. He gave her a soft smile, the same one he had given her earlier. Adaeze noticed a mild tension in his shoulders, a small hesitation in his step. "Yes, everything is fine," he said. Adaeze nodded slowly, forcing herself to believe him. But deep down, the unease stayed, crawling at the edges of her thoughts, and somewhere, hidden just beyond the dim lights, a pair of eyes watched, silent, unseen, waiting. The garden swallowed them in shadows, the faint glow from the house barely reaching the twisted path. Every tree, every bush seemed to lean closer, hiding secrets in the night. Even in the pond reflected only fragments of moonlight, as if trying to protect the rest of the garden from view. Adaeze clung lightly to Colin's arm, the calm from earlier completely gone. The silence felt heavy, almost suffocating. Our senses stretched to every sound, every movement. Then from far away, a low rumble broke the stillness. A vehicle. At first, it was faint, almost easy to dismiss as a passing car. But the sound grew steadily, rolling closer through the night, vibrating faintly under their feet. Collins stiffened immediately, his hand tightening around hers. "Collins, did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. He didn't answer. Instead, his eyes scanned the winding path. Alert and sharp, every muscle in his body was tight, coiled like a spring, ready to move. Adaeze felt the tension radiating off him. It was instinct, not panic. The vehicle rumble grew louder, closer, tires crunching faintly on the gravel outside the garden. Adaeze's stomach twisted. Something about the sound, it wasn't normal. She wanted to step back to hide, but Colin's presence held her in place. He took a small step closer to her, shielding her with his body. Then he pulled out his phone. Another mysterious message from an unknown number. Collins' finger hovered for a moment, reading only what he needed. He tucked it away without a word, his expression unreadable. The vehicle stopped abruptly, its engine hidden somewhere out of sight. Silence felt like a weight, heavy and expectant. Adeze's breath caught. She scanned the garden, seeing nothing, but sensing everything. The air felt electric, charged, as if the night itself had turned against them. Then a sudden clang echoed nearby, a metal gate swinging sharply, striking the post. Adaeze jumped, her pulse hammering. Colin's jaw tightened. He didn't move to investigate, but his hand squeezed hers, firm and controlling. The rumble of the vehicle was replaced by a soft, rhythmic footstep in the distance, barely audible but precise. Someone was approaching. Adaeze could feel it. The vibration through the ground, the shift in the night air, the way the leaves seemed to tense around them. Colin's eye darted towards the faintly lit path, then back to Adaeze. His voice, low and careful, whispered just enough to anchor her. "Stay close." Adaeze nodded, her chest tightening. She wanted to ask questions, but even speaking felt dangerous. The garden that had once been safe, even intimate, now felt like a trap. Then from somewhere, just beyond the faint glow of the house, a deep, deliberate voice called out, low and chilling. "You shouldn't be here." The word hung in the air, heavy and threatening. Adaeze shivered violently. Colin's eye narrowed, his body coiling like a predator ready to strike. He moved a fraction closer, shielding her further, but did not speak. From the edge of the path, a faint shadow moved, larger than it should be, and the sound of another vehicle door opening echoed in the distance. The night was no longer calm, it was alive, watching, waiting. Adaeze's pulse raced, the rustle of leaves, the soft drip of water from the pond, the faint crunch of gravel underfoot, all felt amplified, a symphony of threats. Colin's hand brushed hers again, a reminder to trust him, but even he did not fully relax. Colin's eye narrowed, scanning the path. He could feel the danger closing in, but he couldn't tell exactly what was waiting.
and whatever or whoever was coming was very close. We dey survive what is coming. If you want to find out what happened next, you don't want to miss out part 2.
Subscribe now and turn on notification. The secret of the garden is only beginning.